This is my colors of autumn, 2 Jeep Tour for 2024. Each year, as the trees are turning to their autumn colors, I like to try and get out in at least one of the vehicles, to get some colorful photographs. October's storms frequently strip the leaves from the trees, before they have fully turned from green to yellow and red, so some years, the trees have been bare, and I haven't gone out. We had a bad storm a couple of weeks ago, but fortunately, many of the trees survived without losing their leaves. A brake problem postponed the trip from Saturday the 26th to Sunday the 27th of October. It was a calm day, with blue sky and bright sun, ideal for photographs. I chose a route similar to the one from 2 years ago, with some additional lanes towards the end. Along the route, I picked out a number of laybys and gateways as potential stopping places to take pictures. Some of the early stops weren't great, as I was looking into the sun. This one was a better orientation, but the trees were a bit bare. I was driving the 1943 Ford GPW, while my wife and daughter were in the Hotchkiss M201. I had a GoPro camera and my mobile phone shooting video, but the phone mount was vibrating quite a lot, blurring the video. The next stop wasn't too far up the road. With the sun to the rear of the Jeeps, the trees were casting shadows across the vehicles. I missed one of the turnings I planned to take, but the road I was on took me to the same main road, just a little further along than planned. We followed the main road for about 1.5 miles, before turning back onto the country lanes again. The next stop was only 1/10 of a mile along that road. This time, the location was fully illuminated by the sun, but still not enough color for a really good photograph. The next few stops were all within a few hundred yards of each other. The first was about 300 yards down the bank. We drove away from that stop to the next, and then I realized I'd left my wheel chock behind. I had chocked the wheel since I was parked on a bank, and didn't want to just trust the handbrake while I was out of the vehicle, taking photographs. I left Lynn parked and went back up the bank to collect it. This was another nicely lit spot, but still not enough foliage for a really good picture. After collecting my wheel chock, I drove past Lynn, but due to the low sun, she didn't realize it was me until I'd passed by. By the time she pulled out, another car had got between us. The next planned lay-by was full of horses and their riders, so I drove a little further on, and pulled into the verge to wait for Lynn. As it turned out, this unplanned spot was really well illuminated, and with some nice colors in the trees. It was just a tease of what I hoped to find. Another 130 yards up the road, we stopped under the East Coast Main Line, and shortly after we parked up, a Class 802 Express passed overhead. Moving on again, the next stop was just another 220 yards up the road. It was a similar orientation to the previous 2 stops, so I was hopeful the lighting would be good. The pull-in was surrounded by trees, so the colors could be good. This location gave me exactly what I was looking for. Great illumination, and a nice background, with a range of autumn colors in the trees. The next stop was 1/3 of a mile away, heading back along the road we first started on. Coincidentally, I brought the M201 Jeep to the same spot in April 2005, just 2 weeks after purchase. I just finished painting the Jeep and went for a ride out, looking for places to take pictures. Here I was, at the end of my 20th military vehicle season, back in the same spot, taking pictures again. This was another nice location, with an impressive oak tree. At least, I think it's an oak. The tree didn't look much different, but 20 years ago, none of the hedges were there. We left the oak, and crossed back over the river, followed by a 1-mile hill climb to the next gateway pull-in. This was another lovely spot, with nice lighting, blue sky, and a range of colors in the trees. These were some of my favorite pictures from the trip. A short ride further along the road, there was another gateway. This time the area was a bit more open, with the tree colors in the distance. Back on the move again, we traveled another 2/10 of a mile. Then made a left turn, pulling over onto the grass a little further along the road. I took a handful more pictures at this site, before we set off for the last part of the drive on the route home. This part of the trip was around 3 miles long, and there weren't any particularly picturesque locations along it. It was just nice to be out driving on such a mild autumn day. At the end of this part of the route, there was another small pull-in, just before a very narrow lane. This would be our last photo stop. These are the last couple of pictures taken, before heading up the small lane. It was only about 1.5 vehicles wide, so I hoped we wouldn't meet anything else coming the other way. There was a war memorial up ahead, next to a church, and I had planned to stop there. However, with the drive delayed until Sunday morning, the road by the church and memorial was full of parked cars, so we passed by and headed home. There was one hill start at some traffic lights up ahead, and Lynn didn't feel confident about the handbrake holding if the lights were red. So a little way before we got there, I pulled over and let her pass me. That way, if she ended up rolling back, she would only roll into my Jeep. The bumper and bumperettes could easily be touched up with paint if needed and would be unlikely to damage each other. There wasn't a problem at the lights and it wasn't too far after that and we were back home. It was a 19-mile round trip, which took us around 2 hours to complete. We made the right choice to get out in the morning, as it clouded over after lunch. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.